Yeah, but.
I'll set up for you. Love this on the bird.
Your front row.
Okay.
To order at 6:06 p.m. Please rise to your able and join us for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of treasurer's warrants, payroll warrants for December 5th, 2025 and December 12th, 2025. Open for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the payroll warrants for December 5 and December 12, 2025.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Accounts payable warrants.
I make a motion to approve the accounts payable warrants for December 9 and December 16, 2025.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Approval of the minutes for December 9th, 2025. Opening for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 9, 2025.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions? Edits? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. All right, and now I believe we have some police department awards.
It's kind of hard to keep it a secret when you walk in and see his family sitting. I had to lie to Jonathan to get him here, but I wanted to introduce Chief Bob Corner from the Belknap Police Department. He's actually the District 6 chief representative for the main chiefs. And I knew I wouldn't be able to do this, so I asked him to come to the phone.
Thanks, Chief. Just a little side note before we get started. So I actually met Chief Hazelton and Larry about 14 years ago at a Special Olympic Toy Train Conference in Indianapolis. We've both been involved with Special Olympics pretty much our whole. I'm honored and proud to be here tonight. And it's amazing to see all Officer Barnes' family here. Just show of hands, how many family members for Officer Barnes here? That whole section. So Larry, he'll tell you, you know, there's some favorite things that we get to do as a chief. Usually, first and foremost is awards. It's something that we love to do. We're honored to do it. And when he called me and asked me to come and help tonight, I couldn't say no for a lot of reasons. So thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you for giving us the time. And so just to give folks a little bit of background on kind of what brought us here tonight and what led to this, because I think it's really important. And so on Monday, September 8th, 2025 at approximately 10:50 a.m., Chief Larry Hazelton was on duty when he responded to a radio call that a witness had and using narcotics. Soon after receiving the call, Chief Hazelton spotted the vehicle operating erratically and stopped on Route 1 across the river near Edgecombe. While trying to make an arrest of one of the suspects, George Braun, he resisted and was injured. The chief called for the ambulance to treat him, and one responded. Soon after that, the chief also noticed that he had some white powder on his from the arrest. The chief had also noticed that he had a cut on his arm that he sustained trying to take that suspect into custody. that he believed he had cut himself on the guardrail. When Officer Barnes arrived to assist with the arrest, the chief told Officer Barnes that he felt lightheaded and wasn't feeling well. Officer Barnes then began to bandage the chief's arm while EMTs were talking to him. That's when they noticed the chief started to have the 1,000-mile stare. Then his head fell to his chest, closing his eyes, and he started to gurgle. EMTs then placed the chief on the ground to treat him, and that's when Officer Barnes realized the chief had possibly been exposed to fentanyl. Officer Barnes called for a second ambulance and then quickly administered a dose of Narcan to the chief, which brought him back out of the suspected overdose. 2 suspects were arrested, Joshua Waters, George Braun of White. Of release and possession of drug paraphernalia. This incident highlights the danger that officers face each day while trying to keep the roads safe in Maine, and how dangerous some of the drugs are that officers encounter when responding to these calls. Had it not been for the quick actions of Officer Joshua Barnes responding to assist the chief that day and quickly administering Narcan when he suspected the chief had been exposed to fentanyl, this call could have had a very different outcome. At this time, on behalf of the Maine Chiefs of Police and Chief, I would like to present Officer Joshua Barnes, Jonathan, I'm sorry. Jonathan Barnes, special recognition in honor of, is that? Yeah. In honor of his heroic service on September 8th, your quick thinking and life-saving actions saved a fellow officer during a critical moment of accidental being of your officers exemplifies the higher standards of law enforcement. Congratulations.
Yeah. And thank you all for being here. And we won't blame you if, I know our meetings are scintillating and you'd love to stay, but if you would like to go, that's okay too. Thank you, Officer Barnes.
All right, sounds good. How hard are you making it? Hey, I'm good, great. But you can't pay me to.
No.
You can't pay.
Right, we are at committee appointments.
How the back's open.
Planning board appointments, Allison Henderson and Alan Cohen, open for motion.
I make mo-
Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Just a quick note, do we have any other, is that everybody for planning board renewals, do you know? Oh, you. Ordinance review committee. I don't know who this person is, but suspicious looking Jackie Lowell. Open for a motion.
I make a motion to appoint Jackie Lowell to the Ordinance Review Committee.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Thanks, Jen.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, it is. Alright, public comment, is there anyone who wishes to speak on something not already on the agenda? Going once, anyone online, going twice? Okay. Department head monthly reports, any questions, comments on those? Take that as a no. Right? Unfinished business, discussion of the request for guidance from the planning board and defining the time frame for recent on the boundary survey required for the site plan review. And I'm not gonna formally change it in the minutes or anything, but the chair of the planning board did note that they did not formally request the guidance, that they are awaiting the guidance, so. I sent around a quick memo to, okay, it wasn't really that quick, but. What I felt like made sense for us to do today, let me just pull it up real quick, sorry. Okay, so just, first of all, as Aaron had mentioned last week, the town attorney had let us know that the planning board can't actually adopt a policy defining recent. And therefore tonight we need to provide a recommendation to them how they should move forward. Before the ordinance can be changed, and also guidance to the ORC on what we actually want the direction of the ordinance to go in. So we all know what the current says, and then my major point is that that does not actually refer to residential buildings, and George, please step in if I say something incorrect.
Unless it's short.
Yeah, I'm getting to that part, but with few exceptions, those typically just go through the building permit process, and that process does not typically require a survey. And I don't see anything in the ordinances that says a residential building should ever have to go through the planning board, unless it's a multi-family residential of 3 or more units, or it's shoreline zone requiring planning board. So there was a question last week about more commercial or like large scale developments and what we wanted to require for that and whatnot. But the surveys that we're talking about are not actually residential anyway, typically. So therefore, I'd like to propose that we use the following: the bearings and length of all property lines of the property to be developed and the source of this information. The planning board may waive this requirement of a boundary survey when sufficient information is available to establish on the ground all property boundaries. So that would take out the recent, and it would allow the planning board to waive with sufficient evidence that we know what the boundaries are. So it's not just giving them free reign of, well, we just feel like giving this guy or this gal a free pass. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was, we did establish that it is the responsibility falls on the applicant, not on the town, if there is a discrepancy in terms of whether they were truthful on an application. So that was a concern of the planning board in terms of waiving things or having discretion. So, surrounding towns do not appear to have separate requirements for large or very large developments, at least from what I was reading. Maybe places like Portland, but in terms of our size of town, they are just divided typically like I don't personally believe that we need tiers or something separate in terms of those two things. So the proposed language would require proof of boundary either as a survey or other sufficient information. So a company can't come in and just start building or start up without some sort of proof of boundary.
So question is, proof of boundary, are we still you're still talking about the language that's on an existing survey or the language that's on an existing? In there that those two documents types of documents are acceptable, or is that gonna become a question the next time somebody wants to build something and this jumps up, and how do you define, you know?
Al, do you wanna?
As a planning board member,
Yeah.
leaving it as open as you're leaving is gonna. There has to be some kind of definition of what we accept and some kind of timeframe, because when you're saying existing, they're gonna go. Since then, but hasn't been reported.
So I get that, but no other town does that.
Right.
It's this exact language, and this language is either exactly the same or almost exactly the same to what the state recommends that you do. So I guess I get that, but I'm assuming it must not be a huge issue if no one else is using a time frame or a specific.
It's become an issue because of the time frame. That's, because there's no definition of what the time frame is. And
One of the things that I find very
Latest
troubling about
survey
trying to put a
or-
time frame around it is that where we are, there are a great many pieces of land whose meets and bounds have not changed in 200 years. A survey from 75 years ago is just as valid
Mhm.
as a survey from a year ago or 3 days ago.
Right.
And so having some sort of ill-defined time frame that is not suitable to the with the word recent.
Right.
We are
Bingo.
looking for a
No one else
problem
has.
that doesn't exist.
Right. So I'm just wondering, you could leave it the way it is, or you could add the word latest. Well, so, excuse me, well, survey. So if the survey was 50 years ago and that's the latest survey that exists, that's what they use. Or the latest
If it
deed,
was
if the
so-
deed is if the deed is 20 years old, then that's what you use, is what's on that deed from 20 years ago. You see what I'm saying? Then people can't say, oh, but that's 50 years old, so we can't use it, but you can
But
use whatever the
anybody know-
newest one is.
Does anybody know the answer to this question? If there's a survey of my house from 1820 and then 1920 and then 2000, doesn't 2000 override anything previous?
Not necessarily. Have a butter gets a survey that's different than yours,
Mhm.
any one of those could be in conflict. Your
But
deed
when-
is your most accurate document.
I guess what I'm trying to say, isn't the most recent one always the legal one?
That's what they've been asking for.
usually, there's a,
I just want. Understood.
Presumably, it would be,
Yeah.
not to say that, I'm here.
So
There is-
no. So in other words, I'm saying, would you actually need that language if legally the most recent one is the one you have to use? And would have to use if there was ever a dispute? Aaron, did you?
So there's usually a reason for a survey, so just hear me out. Okay. Somebody, maybe a new landowner, but buys the property and says he wants to do a survey. But usually the previous, if there's like multiple surveys on the record, the new surveyor is gonna use those previous
Mhm.
surveys to build off the basis of your survey.
Right.
Now, besides just, if there was a previous survey on your account, like in your record, land record, there would still likely be a reason why you wanna have another survey. I.e. maybe selling the property or subdividing or something, or there was an inconsistency that you think that's inaccurate in a previous survey. Now, I think the issue is time. It's not necessarily what you wanna see, I think, in an ordinance. I think what you're really gunning for is accuracy. So in any of the ordinances that I've looked at, they use the word accurate. And I think that's the language that we need to be trying to remind yourself is it's not about time, it's, you know, you can throw an arbitrary time frame or, you know, 10, 15, 20 years, but I think you accurate survey, that's the question.
Who determines whether it's accurate if it's not their issue?
Well, anybody who surveyed the property is going to be certified and licensed and all of that to do it, so it would be presumably accurate anyway.
The burden's on the applicant.
I guess.
Right.
The burden is on the applicant.
Yeah.
The applicant is
I
giving
guess-
us the information.
Yes.
There is really no reason, unless someone else comes forward and protests, to question the prima facie. And for us to try and start slicing and dicing for imaginary problems, we are actually going to create a problem.
Right,
Correct.
right, yeah,
And again, I guess I don't want us to add words if no one else is adding words.
I see no reason to do anything
yeah.
other than as you have suggested.
But I wanted to have the conversation.
No, I get that.
Let me throw something else in too. In my, deed, I cannot subdivide the property, I cannot have farm animals on it, and I
Oh, you have
cannot have
covenants.
any sheds on it, and things like that. That's something that the planning board needs to see.
No, not in this sense, no.
Not for what we're talking about
Well,
here. If you wanna go and violate your covenants, that's on you.
But also remember that we're just talking about the survey requirement now. And that is not typically relevant to residential,
I just
like
wanted
your
to clear
house.
the pot a little bit.
Well, you can stir the pot a little more after we do this change. Because we know that there's lots of other things we need to update and whatnot, but yeah, Al.
I think if you just put in that you have to have a survey without a time limit on the survey. So that there is a survey, and if there hasn't been a survey, then they have to get a survey. Eliminate the time clause altogether, just require a survey.
Say survey or deed description.
You guys are doing the work of the
Sorry,
ORC
I'm-
right now, so.
Yeah.
I'm just going back to why do we need to be different than the 10 towns around us who don't specify that?
And I don't think that we should be different.
No, but he brings up a valid point, so you have the discussion. Is it needed
That's
or
fine,
not needed? Yeah.
I'm not opposed to discussing it, I'm just saying. Why would we add? If other people are not having this problem, why should we have this problem? Our problem is recent, the word recent.
That needs to go away.
And I would assume there are several ways you could prove the boundaries. Including physically going out and looking at boundary markers, right?
Yes.
So I guess I would hesitate to start listing what counts as the other, because. At some point you would have to update it.
Right.
Or you can just read your deed and
Case it
if
out.
you have 1,000
Right.
feet along a road, then it's pretty easy to see that that building smack dab in the middle of it is not going to be encroaching.
The deed usually starts with a marker somewhere. and
Absolutely.
Right.
goes around the block.
Most large projects, I think part of the reason why this doesn't come up in any other towns is that most large projects
Yeah,
I think the root of the problem is still here though, like the planning board should know when to use discretion, because. Like a couple of projects as a liaison for the planning board, I've seen Chewonki. They wanted a solar field that was 250 feet away from any boundary. It's like, should you waive the survey at that point, perhaps? Another one I saw was a change of use from a residential to a pig farm. There's no structures at all, just changing the use. And they were still required to have a survey.
So could they prove the boundaries otherwise without survey? Either of those cases?
No, it's a survey requirement.
No, but I'm saying, could they have,
Yes, they could have with their deed.
if this had been in place?
Correct.
Okay, so I guess that's my point is, I'm fully in favor of not letting people just wherever, whenever, without any kind of survey. But that's where I feel like with this language, the planning board either needs to require the survey or some proof that they know where the boundaries are.
right.
This still falls on the planning board though, the way it's written, it says the planning board may waive the requirement of a boundary survey.
It's
Just-
Right.
it's very difficult to define discretion.
Bingo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
When sufficient information is available to establish. So if you can't establish the boundaries, then they can't waive it.
right.
Yeah.
Because that's the core requirement.
That's what we don't have now. They don't have that help to the language. They can just waive it or not, but it seems willy-nilly if they do it because there isn't a if or when. Whereas this
I mean,
language
if you're,
says when.
if you're doing this, then you can just say. Anyone can provide a deed, though. Everybody has a deed on their property, so like, this is a lot of words to say, let's see your deed.
Which technically you have to provide anyway, but.
Yeah.
Right and title.
Again, why do we need to be different than all of the other towns?
I don't think we do.
I don't think so.
Cause we need to know when to use discretion. To waive certain stuff, we can't set a precedent and say, everybody needs a survey.
We're not proposing that.
No.
That's the precedent that's set now, though.
So the precedent that we're struggling with is the interpretation by the current planning board that recent means within 6 months. That 6 months provides no security to the town or the landowner. A 6-month survey is no more valid than a 100-year survey.
Right.
And that is what we're struggling with.
Yeah,
Up until now, the planning board has been going current meetings somewhere between 2 and 3 years. And then when Chewonki. At that point, Carl found this old resolution that had never been voted on for the 6 months, but up until the last 2 meetings, the planning board has generally accepted anything within 2 or 3 years, even an exception to that. I've seen us accept something that was 5 years old. But it got brought to a head because a newer member waived it when there wasn't any proof of it. But like, as I said, up until the last 2 meetings, we've generally gone with 2 to 3 years is what we accepted.
So that a 100-year survey is as valid and useful for establishing the information that is needed to make a decision as one that's 5 years old. And therefore, putting a time constraint is irrational.
That's why I said,
So-
let's just take out the time constraint, just leave in having a survey with no time constraint. They just have to prove there's a survey.
so to James' point, why is it wrong to just have them have the deed? I'm not saying let's only have that, but. If that's what is considered sufficient information. To establish the boundaries, what's wrong with that? Because then if there was a more recent survey that was different and they chose not to provide that, that's not on the town, that's on them.
The argument would be that some deeds are very vague. But if you said sufficient evidence to prove meets and bounds.
Yeah.
If your deed has footage in it, which they all don't, you know, but, if you do have a deed that describes it. 325 feet to X pin to, you know, and it isn't. 3 staggers and a stumble to the old tree stump,
Right.
then, which wouldn't be sufficient. Evidence to prove meets and bounds, but. Slightly more modern that says 325 feet to pin. Would be sufficient evidence to show meets and bounds, so if you describe it as you were saying, with sufficient evidence to show meets and bounds. Whether that's a survey or a deed, if the deed is complete and descriptive, then.
So the way you wrote it, Sarah, they could use either an existing survey or their deed.
If it was sufficient
Sufficient.
information is available to establish.
So either one.
So I would hope
Yeah, I
that
have a problem with
if
it.
we went with this and somebody came in with a deed from 1797 that said 3 stumbles towards the tree, you would all say, no, that's not sufficient,
Right,
for example.
right.
Okay, when I bought my house, my, you know, my.
Are you just stirring the pot or is it?
Sounds real. On the deed, it says, you know, starting here. You know, it's across the street somewhere, but then so many degrees, 300 feet, blah, blah, blah. I didn't have a printout of the plot. So I went to a couple of years after being there, I went to the Lincoln County, and I think I paid a couple of bucks and got one. I mean, when you do one, don't you have to register it with them?
Not necessarily.
No, but they don't necessarily have them. Okay, that was my question.
Most people will include it with a deed.
Pardon?
Most people will include a survey.
Correct, other
along
houses
with
I've
the
had,
deed,
they come
But you don't
together.
have to. The
Right.
deed, all else fails, you're gonna go to court on that deed,
Right.
right?
But.
Yeah.
Just for, I mean, I'm sure you guys know this, but the description of the deed is usually written by a surveyor at some point in time.
Well, in recent times.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is.
But even like 100 years ago, I mean, 'cause that was probably a surveyor that wrote that description, and like you say, you know, 3 chains to a tree stump and to a stone wall or whatever. That was probably written by a surveyor at some point in time. So,
Maybe.
Okay.
Your covenants would come up in the writing title.
Yeah.
the town really shouldn't be involved in enforcing covenants, that's not really. I was told by the attorney about that.
Okay. So where are we at with the understanding that whatever we send to the ORC, they will look at and probably compare to examples just to make sure that this isn't way off. And then there would be public hearing through that process.
We have our in-house attorney write that up.
Oh. She already told you she don't.
Or to do anything, we can certainly recommend. So my thought was to recommend this language to the ORC to put into the ordinance and at the same.
Okay. Do
Principle.
you have all that, Jackie?
Could you send me what you said at the very beginning?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so moved.
Okay, if you wanna do it that way, that's fine.
Yeah,
Second,
okay. Further questions, yeah,
Should, this is kind of nitpicky, but it
that's
says,
fine.
should we say the planning board? It says may waive this requirement, should we change it to the requirement?
I think it has to be this, the way it's in the laundry list of things.
Okay, it just seems like it's referenced before this comes up, so.
wait, what do you want to wait, the 6 months? Or the word, recent?
Just change this from, or change this to the. Cause it seems like we're talking about the requirement of a boundary survey somewhere else in the ordinance, maybe we are, like I said, it's kind of nitpicky.
Can we have the RSA figure that
I
out?
think you are, you can look at that, figure that out.
That works.
Okay,
It doesn't matter. It's okay either way.
Alright.
okay. All right. Any further questions, discussion? Thank you. All right, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Have fun, Al.
You,
All right. New business. Oh. But
I would make a recommendation that the ORC return with proposed language by March 1st.
yes, thank you.
probably soon.
Second,
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Motion passes 5. The ORC language back by March 1st. All right. Now on to new business. Oh, hang on. And if the planning board has any questions, Al, feel free to have Carl
I'm gonna recommend that you formally send Carl a letter
explaining what
explaining.
we just
That's
talked.
really-
Oh, okay.
you just talked.
All right, well, I'll do that.
Jack. Both those committees as well as myself on OR.
Slash bingo and games of chance consisting of sealed tickets for 2026. Open for motion.
I make a motion to execute a blanket letter of approval for the Huntoon Hill Grange to operate bingo and games of chance consisting of sealed tickets for 2026.
second,
Then moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion?
What's Beano?
It's a main thing. isn't it?
Bingo.
it's the same thing as bingo.
Oh, okay.
Massachusetts, in the 20s, I think they out. Bingo.
Oh, they changed the name.
Beano.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Monthly financials, HM Payson statement. Sale of consumer fireworks annual license, Big Al's Outlet Inc. located at 300 Bath Road.
I make a motion to approve the sale of
Yeah.
consumer.
Oh, sorry. I'm just letting him know I'm not cutting, we're not gonna vote for you.
Oh, okay. To approve the sale of consumer fireworks annual license for Big Al's Outlet Inc. located at 300 Bath Road, also known as 298 Bath Road.
Second,
Okay, but moved and seconded. Now, if there's anyone who'd like to speak to this.
Yes, I would like to speak. Don't have much to speak, but I'd like to speak.
Sure.
As you know, we're,
Sorry, just for those online, if you could.
fighting this issue for a lot of years. There's a lot of background here, and can't be thinking. I don't know if you all got it or not, but, Jackie wouldn't have gotten it, but,
We
I
have
have-
paper copies of it too.
I have sufficient copies for each of you.
Well, I
Yeah.
provided everybody. with
Yeah,
copies.
Everybody has
we've got, yeah, I'll give Jackie's mine, so I
And
don't
you
know.
also provide a copy of the letter to the code enforcement officer that's also at issue here. I have copies of that also, but I'll just, here they are, and you can take one and pass them along or whatever. I don't have much to say other than what's in the memo, the letters from our attorney. We urge you, to take this matter seriously because, the warehouse is illegal and, it is adversely affecting us. So, that's about all I have to say. Okay.
This is bigger. Anyone else would like to speak? Anyone online? Yes, please. I can send you the electronic version of it.
No, it's the same one.
Oh, okay. I will send Jackie the electronic version so that she has it for the minutes. Oh. Alright, any further questions or discussion? Okay. Vote on the motion, all those in favor? Motion passed 5-0. Alright, 2026 Animal Services Contract with Lincoln County. Open for motion.
I make a motion to authorize the town manager to enter into an agreement between the town of Wisconsin and Lincoln County for animal control services for 2026.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Main Service Center Coalition, open for motion.
Make a motion to authorize membership in the Main Service Center Coalition and designate Dennis Simmons as the appointed representative and Husky as the alternative.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Sewer abatements, and as, if anybody's wondering why there's not a lot of info now, it's because, legally, we need to, keep the names and identifying information now private, so the board has access to them if we need them, but you'll only see account numbers moving forward. Alright, account number 339, open for a motion.
To approve an abatement of $115.85 on account number 339 as recommended by wastewater superintendent Robert Lowe.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes.
$16.55 on account number 189 as recommended by wastewater superintendent Robert Lawley.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. And then there's a second one for number 189.
To deny abatement number 2 request on account number 189 as the application was filed outside the required 30-day submission period established by town policy.
Second.
Been moved.
The town manager to extend the contract of trash hauling with Gordon Libby.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, and transfer station fee increase for demolition materials, open for a motion.
I make a motion to approve an increase in the fee for depositing demolition materials to 13 cents.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes. Sale of 2024 trash truck, open for motion.
Make a motion to deem the transfer station 2024 trash truck as surplus and authorize the town manager to purchase the sale of the vehicle. To pursue the sale of the vehicle in a manner that is in the best interest of the town.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. National Renewable Energy Laboratory Grant. Open for motion.
Make motion to authorize the town manager to sign a subcontract and accept technical assistance and funds from the U.S. Department of Energy's National Renewable Energy Laboratory, NREL, Energy Technology Innovation Partnership Project on behalf of the town of Wiscasset to write the strategic energy plan.
Second,
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Five zero.
I just say something, I just wanted to say that's part of the reason. So they were that all of the work on complete, based. They on the survey.
No problem.
Thank you.
Town manager vacation request, January 18 through 31, and appointing of acting town manager, open for motion.
Can they be one motion?
Sure.
Make a motion to grant the town manager vacation request January 18 to 31 and appoint the acting town manager of Police Chief Lawrence Hesseltine during the town manager's vacation.
second,
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, abstained. Motion passes 401.
Where are you going?
New Zealand and Australia.
I approve them.
All right, assessor's business supplementals, Jubal A and Casey Gilbert, map R07 lot 073, in the amount of $779.38, open for motion.
Make a motion to approve the supplemental tax certificate in the amount of $779.38 for Jubal A and Casey Gilbert at map R07 lot 073 as recommended by the assessor's agent Ellery D. Bank.
second,
Moved and seconded, any questions or discussion?
So how come we give names here?
Cause it's all public information.
Okay.
I just
No,
can't.
no, I know,
No,
I was
actually,
like
it's-
wondering.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
that-
about. I cannot answer that question.
Is that why the
they don't want you to know that
ORC
that guy bought
appointments
water
are
is on.
redacted too?
I have started redacting, I've had some requests for phone numbers and emails not to be made public.
Okay, so did you leave the town in there, or did you leave the town of residence in?
Yes,
Okay, I don't know if I caught that, just wondering.
Any further questions? All those in favor? $1,901.18, open for motion.
Make a motion to approve the supplemental tax certificate in the amount of $9,901.18 for Connie and Sebastian Forsall trustees, Sea Glass Family Trust at .313I map R09 lot 007-005.
Second,
Been moved and seconded, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passed. 5-0. Abatements, Gregory H. Shea, map R09 lot 007-005, in the amount of $9,477.41, open for motion.
$1,477.41 for Gregory H. Shea at map 9 lot 007-005 as recommended by assayer's agent Ellery G. Bain.
second,
Been moved and seconded, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. William. 10-A-16 in the amount of $441.54, open for motion.
Make a motion to approve the abatement of $441.54 for William Jenkinson and Erica Ortiz at map R04 lot 10-A-16 as recommended by assessor's agent Ellery G. Bain.
second,
Been moved and seconded, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Enterprise Rent-A-Car Boston Personal Property Account 91 in the amount of $21.87.
Make a motion to approve the abatement in the amount of $21.87 for Enterprise Rent-A-Car of Boston as recommended by Assessor's Agent Ellery G. Bank.
Second,
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Town managers report, anything you'd like to add?
Thank you for approving my vacation.
Any questions for Dennis?
are you gonna show pictures?
Yes.
Slide show.
That will be a daily Facebook photo.
Yay. I look for Carrie.
December. I'm not one from here for.
Oh,
Any other board business? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? They are adjourned at 6:57 PM. Thank you.
Got stuff signed?